I am here hosting a series of NAHA live conversations to help us all through these times by communicating with, you might say, the icons of our industry, helping us get through it, think about how to be creative, how to create collections, and most importantly, we're having a good time and we're stylists together. These are brought to you by the Professional Beauty Association, and at the end of each and going forward, you will be able to find a list of resources. So like today, we're going to be talking about wigs at some point. If we find a resource that relates to the conversation or anything in NAHA Live, we will share that with you at probeauty.org/NAHA. If you're not a member, get in there, become a member of PBA as soon as possible. In times like these, you can't afford not to be a member of the organization and the community that are out there fighting for your rights as a stylist every single day. So make sure you go to that website and give it a little /NAHA for all the fun content and resources that you're seeing. So, before I bring up my guests, I just want to let you know that today's guests on the show are Christopher Dove and John Simpson, the founders of Co-Create. You might know Christopher from the global creative director of Wella on many years. He just has one of those instantly recognizable faces. I remember watching him, for many years on those big stages for Wella, and he's gone on to do amazing things with Co-Create, and he's also pretty darn funny. And we have his partner, John Simpson, who was the Goldwell creative director. Can you believe two creative directors come together? Voted one of the best educators to see by several publications. They are both the co-founders of Co-Create, but today we have them for PBA and NAHA. So I'm going to bring them on live now. Fantabulous guest, otherwise known as Co-Create. Well, hello.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome. Welcomes from West Hollywood, where I am, where you used to be my neighbors, actually.
Yeah, that's right.
And we used to run into each other at Just Food for Dogs.
Yeah.
And
Taking care of our babies. Making sure our babies are healthy.
You know somebody has a high maintenance four-legged child when they shop at Just Food for Dogs, because it's like a whole paycheck for a week's food that is freshly curated to your dog's specific needs using the freshest ingredients. We're so glad you guys are here. And looking good. And what is that in the background? I'm sorry. What am I looking at?
It's Kardashian. For creative conversations. Yeah. We decided we'd love to treat it. We're super serious about our careers, but also we have to have a little fun, right? If you're not having fun, you're not doing it right. Yeah. So, Chris created a little magic. So we're kind of playing like Kathy Lee and Hoda.
I love it. Kathy Lee and Hoda, and I think I'm a Kardashian. But before I get too far, I ask my guests to tell me their favorite beverage, and I enjoy it with them. And I have to say I've already started. It's a Moscow Mule that has to be served apparently in a copper cup. This was the only one I can afford in the crisis. I'm sorry.
So fabulous.
Copper's very expensive, guys. So
Cheers.
Cheers. My Moscow Mule.
Cheers.
You're going to have to search what's in a Moscow Mule. But there is some sort of beer involved that I'm not sure if it has alcohol or not. But
Ginger beer.
Ginger beer. Is there alcohol in it?
No, it's a more ginger version of ginger ale.
Oh, okay. Well, then there you go.
And the alcohol comes with a vodka you put in there. So.
And I did it. Grey Goose per your specifications. So I had Tabitha this week. She chose coffee, of course, but it was cold pressed with a non-dairy milk.
Well, she is a master of So I mean, merchandising and kind of like,
Yeah, Coffee with Coffee, which is a great show. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but she's doing a great job
oh yeah.
every morning. Nick Stenson wanted a high quality tequila on the rocks, so I'm very excited to see what I will be drinking over the next several weeks. So before we get digging into the NAHA stuff, I think everybody's dying to know about the two of you. Like, where are you from? And, like, how did that begin? And what were you like as a teenager? I'm always curious about that. Exactly the same. So we'll start with you, Chris.
Well,
Where are you from?
I'm from England, and there's a Leeds in England, which is northeast. And my parents moved to Devon, which is southwest, when I was about 13. And as a teenager, I was the same height, 6'4", about 100 pounds lighter, so like a beanpole. And it was the time when the fashion was in for those high waist pants with 3 buttons and
Z
the flare,
Cabrici?
high waist pants, and the
Okay.
flare on the leg covered your shoe, which were platforms. So I was about 7 foot tall with legs that looked like it was 3/4 of my body and this little torso, the skinny arms kind of coming out the top like this. So absolutely fabulous, sweetie. And bless her heart, my mom at the time, who really did resemble Patsy because she was blonde and she always had a cigarette in her hand. It was like, sweetie, those pants do nothing for you, So
She said that to you.
my mom, bless her. She's not with us anymore, but she was definitely an influence on me during my career. And she was actually the one that, once I decided to get into hairdressing, she was the one that was the driving force behind making sure that, I got everything I needed to be where I needed to be. So, that movie Gypsy, with Gypsy Rose Lee, and the mom is always like, sing out, Louise, sing out, Louise. That was my favorite thing to say back to my mom every time. She's like, you should do this, and you should do that, and you should, So, yeah, I mean, she's up in heaven watching over us, I know, but definitely she was a driving force behind pushing me in my career. She saw greatness when I didn't even see, all I saw was this skinny kid with zits.
And she created a star out of palazzo pants and platforms. I love it.
Well, they had to go eventually because I actually did fall off my platforms once and really twisted my ankle bad and decided that was not a good idea anymore. So yeah. And started working out at the gym back then and realized that you should, kind of like show a bit more of that body rather than those big baggy pants. So yeah. Michael Shaw, you know all about it.
Yeah, well, I've been there. And John, let's hear about you. Where are you from originally, and what were you like as a teenager?
Originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And
Okay.
yeah, I'm from Pittsburgh, and I actually grew up in a suburb outside of Pittsburgh, Washington, Pennsylvania. So it was, I don't know the population of the time, but it's a small town.
Yeah.
It's cool. I mean, it's a middle class and an upper class blend, but it's definitely a lot of blue collar small town.
What I do have to jump in there with, every time we watch a movie, and especially with like the drag shows on TV and everything, every time we watch a movie, he goes, you do know that actor is from Pittsburgh. You do know that drag queen is from
Pittsburgh proud.
Hollywood is filled with people that originated in Pittsburgh, apparently.
I mean, we're tall, talented, gorgeous, cheekbones, everything hangs
The
down.
cheekbones.
All in place. All in place. So when did you, I'll start with you this time, John. When did you know, what was the inspiration that you knew you wanted to do this, be a stylist for the rest of your life? Which / rock star? How did that happen?
So doing hair was just something that I grew up, the quick story, my great aunt was a beautician. Aunt Flo had, she did beauty parlor gig, and I was in love with it. So I always found it fascinating. I loved watching the makeup of the time. My mom and my grandmother putting on those opaque Avon colors of like, you know, this mint green and soft lavender and blue. So I was in love with the overall fashion. My aunt had, she got Vogue that is in this small town. I don't have a lot of people to relate to, but you know, whatever. I was doing my thing. Hair was not a first go-to. I was an academic kid. I was, you know, I mean, I'm the oldest of an Italian Catholic Irish family.
He's the golden boy.
You know, I mean, you know, I mean, it's true, but you know, it's something I loved art and I loved intelligence behind it. So
Yeah.
I knew that through high school I was academic track, and then I was 1 week before graduation, and I told my mom, I'm like, look, what do you say if I don't want to go to college? And she said, what do you want to do? Hair. And I'm like, oh, how'd you know? So, you know, it was something. She said, you know, you only talked about it your whole life. I was in love with it, but I didn't even know that I was that in love. It was just,
Yeah.
And in short, I went to beauty college. I was 1 week out of high school. I was right in beauty college, and I found my place. But education was something I wanted to be even when I was a kid. I was just no, because that was what women did, right? Women became teachers at that time. It wasn't, that was from my Italian grandfather. So I was able to really combine all of my loves together. So in short, always.
You're always. And in the palazzo pants, how did it happen for you, Christopher?
Weirdly enough, I can relate to people at the moment who are sitting at home waiting to get their hair done, because my parents had a hotel when I was a teenager. I used to work every summer in the hotel. I mean, I was the general dog's body, so I'd make beds, you know, wash dishes, do whatever needed doing, serve people. I'd serve people in the dining room until the day that I spilled a whole gravy boat over somebody, and burnt them pretty bad. So didn't do that anymore. And every summer, my friends in the area would come back, you know, from the summer holidays with golden highlights and a gorgeous tan. And I'd always be the pale pasty one with still my mousy blonde hair, my dishwater blonde hair. So this year I thought, hey, I'm gonna do some highlights. I'm gonna put some highlights in my hair with that kit that you see, you know, at the drugstore or the chemist was there. So one night when my parents had gone to bed, I got this kit out and kind of painted these lights through my hair, washed it off, and of course, bright orange chunks, which looked hideous. So I actually got my mum away from my dad, middle of the night, and she said, I'll sort it out for you. So she gave me a peroxide shampoo over the bathtub. So I now have bright orange hair with bright yellow chunks in my hair. The next morning, my dad kind of, what an idiot. He goes, what did you do? And he kind of put his hand in his pocket and gave me a chunk of cash. Go get it fixed, you idiot, he said.
I love it.
I can understand from a dad's standpoint. So I actually I went to my hairdresser that I'd only ever had haircuts with, because I'd never had color at that point, being a teenager. And she said, I'll fit you in between my regular clients if you can sit and wait the whole day. So I actually sat there and observed the whole process, from people coming in fresh and then kind of having the new cut, which was architecture and design, and having the new color, which was painting, which is kind of what I did at school, was always art based. It was never academic. And all of a sudden the light bulb went off for me, not knowing what I was going to do in the future with my art. I had no idea at that point. And all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, this is art. And realized that, you know, you can put your artistic tendencies and your ways of looking at things into a practical form that can then kind of create, you know, income for you to live. And I went back home with my freshly darkened hair with a few highlights thrown in there, because I had to have the highlights.
Of course.
And told my parents, this is what I want to do. You know, this is what I want to do. I want to do hair. So I think my dad disowned me that day. But my mum's like, sweetie, darling, sweetie, just leave your dad to me. It'll be okay, sweetie.
And so I'm going to get into the way the two of you met, but I know a lot of people are excited to get into NAHA and how to work together. And so I'm going to assume we all know that you're together because you're
Yeah.
this fantabulous, incredible group together called Co-Create. But, you know, Co-Create, we will have all that information at the end. And don't forget, go to probeauty.org/NAHA for all the references. But speaking of working together, because clearly you guys are so amazing, working together, how do you collaborate ideas, be it for Co-Create, or I know you're both NAHA entrants, nominees, winners. How do you come up with a concept together without killing each other, in essence?
Here we go. So, no, it's a great question. I think what Chris and I...
See, that's a good start.
I caught the pause.
Who's going to go first? Number one. Go ahead.
No. So with this, it's interesting. We learned really quick. Once we knew that we were going to be together, that we were going to be, you know, our whole entire it's us. That our this is us it's professional, it's personal combined. So we learned really early that neither one of us could be the right one. Like we had to create something new, and with that, it wouldn't happen. So what we did, it was actually really powerful because I believe at about 2 seconds, if we do into a training, right, or something that I've always put forward, I like to create like a creative tension workshop for people to get even more excited and really release energies. And what that was, is it was our own creative tension workshop, but it was our life. So, you know, what was really powerful, I am in the wiring, I have to have a gorgeous result, but I'm a little uptight and neurotic. I really am. You know, and Chris is such an artist that, I mean, from what he translates from his head through his heart, through his hands, is so powerful that I don't even know that I needed him to tell me why he was so talented. So, no, I didn't, because it drove me crazy. I needed him to know why, I needed to know where it came from. And he's like, let it go, girl, let it go. So,
Just is.
As well.
Yeah, I mean, really, and it was just something I do have to say. I think what we've learned from one another are different approaches, different thought processes, different techniques, because I have learned to let it go. I still need to know why, but I've learned to be a little more free, I think. And for me, I've learned to be freer.
Yeah.
You know, but also, I mean, he's dropping all the things now that he's telling people why he's so fabulous, you know?
So here's the thing, guys. Like, you must have some way you put it all together, and I'm guessing it's something there must be on that, more on that screen than me as Kim Kardashian. There must be some way that you finally, once it's like you get out of your head and you get out of the my ideas, your ideas, this is good, this is bad, that you have to lay it out. Voila. Oh my God, I feel like I'm watching some sort of like NBC magical screen here. What do we have behind us here?
So we got really you led beautifully into us talking about storyboarding. And I think anyone that's thinking about entering NAHA, and I think anyone that has entered NAHA will agree that doing the storyboard is definitely the most important part of putting all the ideas together. Not just for yourself to see, but for anyone else that you're going to include in as part of your team. You know, that's your models, your photographer, your clothes stylist, your makeup artist. Anyone that's going to be part of your team really needs to see your vision. And I think sometimes, especially if you are working with other people, and the two of us can speak to this definitely, it's like once you start putting those ideas next to each other, you see a correlation of what could work versus the opposing. So sometimes at the beginning of when we were together, we'd put ideas together and they would definitely oppose each other as strongly as green and violet. I mean, two of the favorite colors, his is green and mine's violet. We'll put those two together and they kind of neutralize each other, as we know as colorists. So we had to kind of find a way of then including in the violets and including in the greens that would work together. I mean, you know, I'm talking hairdresser talk here, so
Yeah,
we all
yeah.
understand.
We're all
So,
hairdressers watching. So tell us, what are some of those hair inspirations? Do you have it
yes.
in your magical screen here?
In our magical screen.
Well, he did say he was uptight, remember?
Yeah.
Oh, he has full control. I
And a
have
teacher,
full
he was a
control.
So,
It's true.
mhm.
I won't kill you death by PowerPoint, but it is a gorgeous keynote.
I
And
love it.
no, it really is something, and I think it's first, it's the end result. What is your vibe of hair? You know, I think the magic that I talk about that Chris can do, the different styling and the different. I mean, he's created these foundations and forms and sculptures, and I'm like, I would never do that ever. I have no interest. And we had to kind of put together because he's like, I would never do that. I believe in going in, shaking it up, and saying, let's see what happens. And
Yeah.
I love that sexy tussle done undone. You know, it's still glamour, not messy. Ew. But
Yeah.
it needs to have sexiness to it, not so structured. So we put together what is our overall goal of the hair that we want to see. Right, so, and it's different pieces. I know, you know, Chris loves glamour.
Well, just to kind of give a quick brief on that. Say, for instance, the collection we're going to share with you, it was based on old glamour and what could be new glamour, you know, and based on, I definitely have a fascination with the old Hollywood. So you can see in this, there's Marilyn, there's kind of this is one of the drag queens actually, this is Miss Fame, done with Marlena Dietrich. And, you know, then there's more of the undone version of that very done look. So, you know, it's kind of like, how would you take it now and how would you shift that to make it newer? You know, and obviously using color in there will make it different because it used to be the platinum blondes and the beautiful coppers. But now, obviously, a mixture of colors, you know, the violets, the blues and greens, with a base of the white blonde. So that's kind of the idea behind this, is really to bring that together rather than have it opposing.
Now, people are asking, so this is where you start.
This is where we start.
Even though John would sort of rather throw and see what sticks, which I find hard to believe if you're the control freak. But
I know.
this is where you start. And what I love about this, guys, is this is something we have a Bujo Salon. Claudine, hi, welcome. She loves your storyboarding. She thinks it's beautiful. But like, this is really something we could start while being at home before we get to a studio and so I love that this is something you can do. So you start with the idea, then you get into the hair because it's a hair competition.
Yes. Yeah. So the hair, as you can see, is our main focus. So that's what we put this up there first. And to give an idea, you know, it is the old Hollywood with a newer take of it. How would that be? So question mark. So then the next one we're moving into would be then going into what would the fashion look like? If we had someone from, you know, the Hollywood days, the golden Hollywood days, say Marilyn lived today, what would she wear today compared to what she wore back then? You know, it's a question that evokes a lot of thought in the process. But again, you kind of have to also look at it and kind of go, you know, it's almost like there's some futuristic feelings, there's metallic feelings, there's a glamour. Which direction are you going to go? Can you infuse a few of those ideas together, or does it have to be one or the other? And again, these are questions that kind of come up during the course. And I think, you know, for John and I, we've both got opposing ideas when it comes to fashion. To me, fashion is equally, if not more important than the hair. You know, it really, I think it evokes an emotion, a feeling, gives you the idea of who that person is straight away. And I think for John, you know, if he had the models kind of naked, that would be fine too, you know, but it's, again, it's everyone's personal taste and how you infuse that together, you know?
Yeah. Where are you guys, like, so for someone who's brand new to this, they're interested in NAHA, where do you find these images? Do you just sort of Google search? Do you?
Well, you know, back in the good old days, it used to be tearing them out of magazines and actually gluing them onto a board. That's where the idea of storyboard came from. However, you know, nowadays with Pinterest and with the internet, you know, you can go on and search anything you want. fashions from around the world.
That's right.
And you know what? As we're talking about fashion, don't get stuck on having to have the clothes stylist choose the clothes for you. I think if you're in an area where you have a university, one that's really great at doing this kind of work, or would be interested in giving this a go as a project, it'd be a way of bringing other people into your fold, giving them a chance to shine, and also kind of having it done at an expense level that most people could really afford.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what else do you plan in advance? So you think about the hair first. Next, we've got the fashion. What's next as far as...
As you're putting together the whole story, it really, for me, it has to make sense. I think that, going through it, you can work and you can hire different fashion stylists, which is the ideal.
Yeah.
Christopher now, he plays that part with Pieces, but, the first time I entered NAHA, it was my first time I went in, I won. To the point about simplicity of fashion, I went to a consignment store and I spent $1.25 on a shirt that I could rework all these different ways, and it was magic.
Yeah.
But it was $1.25, because I was shooting color and it was this upper part. I was more into the weird contouring of the body, and I bring that up only because then it takes it into a next segment of, what is makeup? The makeup mood, I think, you don't want to overpower what your collection is, and nor do you want to just make it just, I think, makeup artistry is so major right now, especially for these kids, that, how do you translate, if you're working with an artist, what, as a team or a group collaboration, what do you want that to look like? Or also, you don't need it. I think what is considered pretty, in an everyday world doesn't mean that it's going to translate beautifully to a photograph. I think you can almost date yourself before it even becomes published. So, just thinking about what is the mood, the overall look. Is it eyes, is it lips, or, is it drag face? But if it's drag face, it probably should have either over the top hair or like really the most simple hair, period. What are you showing?
Yeah. I think that's so important. And so do you suggest, when would you bring in the makeup artist? Would you bring them in at the very beginning so they're aligned? Because I feel like that's a big part of what you're seeing. And also, some people are asking, like, could that same makeup be entered into NAHA? Since you're both on the committee, could they work together, right, to save a little cost
Yes.
on a project?
Yes, exactly. With it being a category for makeup, then for sure, the photographs can be used, by the makeup artist as well as the hairdresser, which is a double win, really, or could be a double win. I think to John's point, the makeup is a really important part. Answering your question, how soon will they be brought in? I think if you work really closely with someone who is going to be your makeup artist already, the earlier the better, because you can then evolve together. Whereas a lot of times, if you're booking a makeup artist, you may not have that luxury. You may have someone who, yes, can look at that picture and say, I can do that exactly the same, or we can do that, maybe add turquoise here, or, or yellow here, or whatever it might be. Yeah. Let's say that's two of his favorite colors.
Besides green.
It really depends on the relationship with the makeup artist, but the sooner, the better, I think.
That's beautiful.
I have to have one last on the makeup, though. I think make sure that you understand that the makeup artist needs to understand the result, but also you need to know what the power of their makeup is, because they could say, sure, I could create this Kylie lip, and it ends up looking more Wet and Wild. Not that that's bad, but it could be a little more drugstore. And we got to see it. And I think, doing a cross, either doing it yourself. I love to do makeup. I always have. But we work with artists, that paint they paint down, and I wouldn't be able to touch now. I'm so far removed from that. They're gorgeous.
But I think, that it is very important to have someone that isn't just doing wedding makeup, you know, like in the salon, but they understand from the lens of the camera, it's going to be different. It's going to look different. And I think it's a real key thing. Sometimes you do see a beautiful collection that maybe if only the makeup had been worked a little better, or really, this is going on to the next stage, but maybe the face had been a bit more perfect than it was on. And that's a horrible thing to say, because what is perfection? It's so subjective. But, you know, when it comes to models, it's a real kind of hit and miss. You know, having your Friday 5 o'clock client sit in front of the camera and be your model for NAHA may be an option, but is it the best option, you know?
Yeah. So now there are other things I know you've considered: the lighting, the model choice, the overall collection. Let's talk about lighting for a minute.
Yeah. Lighting for me is everything. It's, you know, I really need to think about, you know, we started with hair, we built the story from the fashion look, how much of the body form are you shooting? But I think your lighting, it needs to, special from the beginning. Because, yes. You know, I mean, for us, and, you know, for me, I'll speak to it, I've always shot more for hair color, right? That was my goal from a manufacturer standpoint, from a personal standpoint, because if it was a personal collection, I needed to teach from it, and color is my passion, right? So I needed to showcase it without discrediting any of the beauty of the makeup. But you could see, like, even here, this is all about the light of the shine line, right? And it was about a simple, stunning face, right? Because everything else was black.
Well, actually, half a simple stunning face.
Oh yeah, but and you know, honestly, this is a wonderful top model named Brooke. But you know, Brooke is gorgeous in real life, but photographically, she shoots better half face, and she's a top tier girl. So you know, it's not even because I covered her face. You know, so there, I think to the model points, I think model section, we're going to talk about that, but you know, who is going to, I think back to the lighting, and I'll stop, but I think lighting, think about what are you showcasing, right? Do you want it to wash out? Do you want these light pops, like laser beam lights? Because I want to know what my hair story is already going to be, you know, what my goal needs to be.
And you know, sometimes you get the model in front of the camera and you have someone that will do something that you think, wow, where did that come from? Shoot it quick, you know? And then you have other times when they're like deer in headlight and they're just frozen there. Even models, you know, like top models can be the same way. And you know, you never really know 100% what you're going to get until that day in front of the camera. So you have to really be willing to kind of move with that and go with the flow a little bit. And sometimes, you know, you can get a surprisingly out before. One thing that's really important is to get your shot first before you start playing. So the same thing with the model, get your shot in the position that you want the model to be in, and then let the model kind of work it a little bit. Because as long as you know you've got your shot, then it's safe to play a little bit.
Got it.
Yeah.
And Hair by Cherise, she's curious. We mentioned models, so we may as well get to models.
Yes.
How can you find a model? Like, what are you looking for?
You know, I think back to us being our creation, our co-creation together, because we definitely even have different ideals of what is beauty. You know, I love sort of gender neutral. I love the whole, like, even if I backpedal to androgyne, I love, you know, is it a man or a woman? I don't know. But also I love curves. Those are my personals. You know, if it's going to walk a runway, right? I mean, you need to be tall and give me all of the things. Right? But if it's a shot, right, it is about, I played with what is the face. I think there are some very beautiful people that, you know, again, what is real life? And then how, you know, take a snap. If you do have your 5 o'clock client, you know, if they do have a really unique structure, take a photo of them, you know, and play with it and see what they do, because it has to be the face, it has to be, how are they going to sell the emotion? There are lots of agencies out there, you know, like, that will do it, but agencies, there are girls that we work with. I mean, we just did a show in Dallas that at the end of last year, and I mean, these girls at the start, we put a budget forward, and they're like, oh, that's funny. So, you know, it was, yeah, I mean, because these girls stand at, I mean, they get paid something like $1,000 an hour or something. No, they made $1,000 a day, you know, and then we
Okay.
spend more. But so, you know, you don't have to go that route. But here's the thing, right? Those girls, if you needed the shot, boom, they get it in minutes. So you could book them
Yeah.
for a short window. That's the promise. They sell it. But you know, again, I talk about my first collection I personally ever shot for a $125 wardrobe. You know, I mean, I hired them. There was an agency. I think I paid each girl maybe like, now this is back in the Stone Ages at this point, but I think I paid them like $250, $300. You know, I mean,
For the full day.
for the full day. They were just some young girls that worked for an agency.
Yeah.
But they were just kids that would get their hair done and pose. You know, the first girl, she kept asking me, she was a lingerie girl. She'd like to take boudoir shots. And she was like, oh, can I just take this off? And I'm like, no, girl, it's not that kind of shoot. So, you know, but she had the pain of her face was perfect. It was perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. So we have an entire segment dedicated to building your team next week, and so I want everybody to tune in for that. But one thing I think, or many things, there is no one thing that's fabulous about your process, but a thing I think everybody would be interested in is something they can do besides build the board, which is good. I like the process of going through the hair and the makeup and the lighting and the model. But we can't get a model. We can't touch a person right now.
Nope.
What can we do? Is it a wig? Is it a what can we do now to build this collection so we can meet the deadlines? We've moved the dates. Now it's moved, you know, the opening in June and ending in October, as opposed to being wrapped up in May. Oh my God, you have wigs. Loves.
Became very prepared.
I love this.
We thought about shooting it in the wig and fashion room.
So tell us what we're seeing here.
Well,
So
go ahead. I'm going to go back to the original image.
one of the things really you can be doing at this moment in time is looking at sourcing out good wigs. And when I say good wigs, human hair wigs that you can color and cut at home. Because a lot of times the high-paid models or the models that have got great faces for camera are definitely not going to let you change their hair. You know, it's one of the things that's happened since time immemorial. They're not going to change their look for you because you're only paying so much, and their book means everything. You know, the actual catalogue of looks, which is usually kind of more commercial, which this definitely isn't commercial. So you have to think of alternative ways of getting that face photographed, but with your hair. And obviously using a wig and using your coloring on a wig and your hair cutting skills on a wig is a great way of doing that.
I love that. Do you guys teach how to, I mean, I've done wigs. I had my lace front courses. I do the pin curls. I put the cap, I put it down. But I mean, is that difficult? Do you guys ever teach about stuff like that?
I mean, we get asked questions a lot from it. I don't think any of our classes actually really is hair. We work with hair every single day. You know, yeah, it isn't a living, breathing person under here, but it's pinned to a face form, which is what we always design our haircuts around, what we always design our color around. So really just think of it as a head of hair. I mean, you know, it's simple in a way, but it really, I think there's a lot more to doing a wig than there is a human being personally, you know, because you never know what the porosity of the hair is going to be and how it's going to accept that color to begin with. So that's one of the key points that I'd like to make is when you're buying a wig, you know, before you start doing all your coloring, maybe take a few test strands and test out some bleach, test out some color. Because sometimes the wigs could have had like some kind of metallic dye put on them or some kind of fabric dye on them that won't allow the color to penetrate or to deposit in the way that we're used to on human hair. So that's an extra challenge that really, you know, we have to face when we're doing the wigs, but it's kind of exciting because you've got the freedom to do whatever you want.
Yeah. I love that. And I love thinking about doing a class. John, you were going to say something. Sorry.
Oh yeah, no, I think thinking about in the class, it's we don't have one, and thank you for it. It's just that is just specific to wigs, as Chris pointed. But I know in our Co-Create Academy programs, we definitely do. We integrate like in our the styling, the handcrafted styling program. We integrate working with weft and pieces, and we work those into haircuts. So it exposes and introduces a person to what is the coloring, because you may know a product brand inside and out, but how do you tune up and layer? Yeah, I find in a wigs, I think look great. You can do it. You have to go back in and adjust sometimes, and you may not hit it just like this because you may have multiple strands that didn't grow out of one head.
Yeah.
Right? So, you have to work all those things, layer it in, but that's okay. I think one thing working with wig work for your shoots is you have the opportunity to do it, but I would tune up just a little versus tune it down, because in your color work. So if your target, like here, you can see this lavender, this violet that moves right into the blue, and this is all about melt. Now, the ends are pastel, but this is going to shoot innocent. It's going to shoot lavender even though it's purple. Right?
Yeah.
The root area is so deep, it almost looks blackened here, right? But you can see it's just a beautiful blue. So by deepening and tuning up your color, you have to think about your light play and also how is the lens going to capture it. So I think even in the hair cutting, there's the coloring, the soft textures of it. Because what drives me bonkers is whenever you see a wig that looks like a wig, it's just so heavy, and you can see the uneven chops from the stitch that they've done. It's the soft finesse that happens, because I think, and that's not about shredding it. It's just understanding softening with the texture of the tip of a blade, or going in with the texture scissor.
Humanizing a wig, because a lot of wigs just have so much hair that they don't really look like they belong on a human being.
They're just
so you kind of have to go in and take the bulk out and humanize them.
And that's my fear. And so we're gonna list those resources. I know you guys have a resources page. We're gonna put that all on probeauty.org/NAHA. I'm so excited to work with that myself, because I am someone who's a bit fearful of it looking like a wig, like you say, Christopher. And I think a lot of people feel that way. Wigs are allowed in most categories, outside of a cutting category, for example. So there's a lot of opportunity to use wigs in NAHA. I love that. And what I'd like to do now, because give you an opportunity to quickly tell me about Co-Create and what type of seminars you offer. And I know you're going to be offering Wigs 101 soon.
Yeah, exactly. You want to lead in with...
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll end up with the collection. So the collection was a combination of my obsession with Hollywood, with Marilyn, but also a feeling from being a kid that I loved shop mannequins.
Yeah.
So again, at the end of it, we combined the two together and had this really beautiful kind of real, unreal kind of feeling of old Hollywood, new Hollywood mixed in with the unreal of a shop mannequin.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it all pulled together. So again, that thread wasn't there maybe at the beginning, but evolved during the course of.
I love it. I love the mannequin vibe. It's probably a little bit hard to see here, but we're going to figure out a way for you folks to see a bit more up close. So like they said, they started with the Marilyn vibe. They went into makeup. They considered lighting. The model is super important. Wigs, because top models won't allow you to always do the looks you want. And let's face it, if my job was selling my face on a daily basis and half the time it's in beach waves and a ponytail, I'm not going to do that bang either, right? So, it's not their fault. And then this total wrap up of the collection. And congratulations to your wins and nominations and all that. So did you guys want to tell us a little something about Co-Create?
Thank you. You know, I think as you've learned now, if you weren't exposed, you've learned a little more about how we're wired and what makes us, I think, our academy, our education special. You definitely, we have at cocreate.biz, it's COCRE, the number 8.biz. You can, as well as our Insta handle and all the Facebook and all the pages, cocreate.biz has a whole catalog of what we call Co-Create Academy in Dallas programs, but also we will list a different version on the road. That you'll see different shows. But we have corrective hair color programs, which has been great, corrective balayage. There is definitely a creative program of gray covers. So there's a heavy color influence, of course, with our background, but then cutting and
Color
styling.
Kings.
Yeah. But CoCreate.biz, you could definitely, you'll see all of it. But there's a lot of beautiful, we post our collections, a lot of free education, tutorial how-tos. It was meant not just as a selling source, but you could definitely see it as, you know, a little more about what we're about and just sharing the love of beauty, you know, we started shooting just because, I mean, before we even became a public couple, we just started shooting together to see what happened. And with wig work, so it was cool. But it's definitely, you know, we're tight.
Well, we'll give you a shout out there too. We seem to have lost Chris here, but
I wanted to share something that I've been seeing on TV a lot recently. It's a new trend and a new product. The product's called Trump and Go, and it kind of gives you this kind of effect. And guess what? It's made in China.
In China.
In China.
I'm so glad you're ready to have fun because I'm ready to have fun too. We have one other question, which I will. So for the before pictures, can it be behind the scenes photo from Robert Bushy? So the before photo, I'll just jump in and say that because I'm in first round judging. That Robert, just make sure your before picture that we cannot see who you are. It can be behind the scenes, but if we see you, that is automatically disqualifying, unfortunately. So keep your hands and your face out of it or anything that tells us it's you, because we really, we need to just see the work and we need to be unbiased. I can't believe you are mango face right now.
Well,
I am loving that.
I believe how orange I am, Michael. How orange I am on camera.
So we're going to play a little game. We have about 5 minutes left. We're going to play a little game of rapid fire questions. So and everybody who's watching right now, I want you to join in as well and tell us your answers. So the first thing I'm going to ask is your favorite 80s jam. Type yours in, everyone. Come on, everybody has a favorite 80s jam.
Okay, I'll do this. I'll do Might As Well Face It, I'm Addicted to Love.
Ooh, Robert.
Robert Palmer. There you go.
Yeah. He said he's not addicted to love, he loved the makeup in here.
Love the makeup.
Don't you forget about me.
Don't you forget about, okay.
The Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
Mine is Tainted Love. Tainted Love, Soft Cell.
Tainted Love.
Tainted Love. Heads just on fire. Oh, we've got, and let's face it, it's all going to be English music because like everything was British then. Everybody wore lipstick. It was fabulous.
Yeah.
If you, I'll ask one and then I'll ask. So John, I'm going to ask this one to only you because I know your color would be Trump orange. But if you were a new crayon in a box of new collectible crayons, John, what would the name of your Crayola crayon be?
Seafoam Sand. It's a
Seafoam Sand. I love it. And we know you're Trump orange.
I am.
Or Tangerine Trump.
Trump and Glow.
Trump and Glow.
Trump and Glow.
Christopher, this one's for you. If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Ooh, I think to be able to read people's minds. Ooh. And then you know what's going on behind the smiles. There you go.
John, do you have a secret hidden talent or a stupid human trick?
Do you have one?
Oh.
Or no,
I'm like, oh.
what would it be?
Probably none that I could share, but no.
Oh,
No, no, I don't. No. Wait, oh no, I can do this. Wait. No, I can't even do that anymore.
What would it be if you were a superhuman?
Oh, what would I be? As a
superhero.
Yeah, I wouldn't be.
these all know. I'm going to ask each of you different ones, by the way.
Okay.
Christopher, what's your biggest pet peeve? Your biggest pet peeve?
I think what I just said about the superhero.
Yeah.
People's smiles, not knowing what's going on. I think someone being two-faced is my biggest pet peeve, because I'd rather know, and I always let people know, where I'm at with something.
Yeah.
So that's what I like back. So my pet peeve is two-faced.
I thought it would be not blending bronzer.
I do
John,
a good job at that. Hello, look at the hairline.
John, what was the last thing you watched on television?
Ooh.
The last thing I watched on television, Making the Cut.
Making the Cut. Nice. Christopher, if you were an animal, what would you be?
Panther.
Panther. Wow.
They're so sleek and beautiful and dark. I mean, ever since I was a child, I always wanted to be darker rather than lighter, and you don't get much lighter, I mean, naturally.
You are
so
completely blonde.
Yeah.
John, what would be a theme song of your life?
Ooh. Don't You Forget About Me.
It's a good one, and it's an 80s song, by the way. Oh my God, that's so good. And we'll end with, for both of you, or individually.
Okay, I do think we came up with the name Co-Create because we started co-creating together. So I think of what we kind of create together and what we've left together versus individual, because I think that's a third person, it's stronger than the two individuals are. So I mean, that's what I'd like to be remembered for, I think.
Yeah.
And John, that's amazing.
I would like for people to remember us that we've offered them not only creativity, but also intelligence. So that we offer creative intelligence, and we strive for people to be unique versus copy.
And a bit of fun.
Yeah.
Fun is an important factor.
Yeah, because no one does you like you. So,
So true.
I think we live in a world right now that we are able to be uniquely us, but be intelligent about being creative. Not just what we do for the heck of it, because that makes no sense.
I love it. You guys have, everyone watching, you have been so engaged. You're getting so many loves and hearts. Thank you so much for all the effort you put into sharing your storyboards. Please don't forget, we're going to share their resources, which are showing up backwards, unfortunately, on Instagram at probeauty.org/NAHA. If you would like any makeup tips from Christopher on Trump Tangerine, he will be available anytime at Christopher Dove, as well as John Simpson and at Co-Create. Thank you to Pro Beauty Association for hosting this event. Make sure you check out probeauty.org. Thank you guys for being on the show. Bravo. Thank you to everyone for watching. I need a little more bronzer. Have a lovely weekend. We'll see you next week with Charlie Price.